In 2022, I received a prophetic word over my life that said the Lord would utilize my voice to speak to the nations. Fast forward a little bit, January 2024, I was diagnosed with stage 3 esophageal cancer, with a tumor being found directly on my vocal cords. In that diagnosis, doctors told me that they were almost certain that my voice would no longer be able to be projected or heard above a whisper. November 2024, I found out I had vocal cord paralysis and that I would need the assistance of a trach to breathe. But in that, I also was told that my voice would no longer be able to be heard above a whisper, that I would no longer be able to project my voice, and that speaking would be nearly impossible. July of 2025, I had a procedure done that doctors removed a portion of my vocal cords. And in doing so, I was told that my voice would no longer be able to be heard above a whisper, that I would no longer be able to project my voice, and that speaking would be nearly impossible. At every point in the process that doctors told me that I was not going to be able to speak, me speaking to them, they were always so shocked and amazed. And they would look at me in awe and be like, how are you speaking right now? How is your voice so strong and so loud? This does not make sense. You're not supposed to be able to do this. Revelations 12:11 says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And I share my testimony with you to provide encouragement and to inspire you to not cling on what man says and to believe that God has the final say. See, I could have easily subjectified my thoughts and my feelings into the hands of what man said, which was that I would not be able to speak again. Or I could have surrendered and submitted to what God said and what he said about utilize my voice to speak to the nations. And that's what I did. Now, through the process, I would be remiss if I didn't say, yes, I doubted, I was afraid, I was uncertain if the Lord was still going to utilize my voice in spite of what was happening and in spite of what man kept telling me about how my voice would no longer be able to be heard. But the Lord reassured and reaffirmed me each step of the way by telling me that, look, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I said what I said. What you see does not overturn what God said. On the outside, what we see, it might look like we're not sufficient enough, or we're not worthy enough, or we don't have what it takes to be utilized in the way that the Lord says. But he says, look, I know you. Before I put you in your mother's womb, I knew what you would face. I knew the life that you would have. I knew the obstacles and trials that you would have to endure and overcome. And even still, I am going to use you in spite of. And that's the graciousness of the Lord, to be able to be like, look, I know that the enemy might have tried to use this for one way, but I'm going to flip this around for my good. You will see the goodness of the Lord through whatever if you just submit and surrender to him and trust him in the process. So I pray that this encourages you, that it might look one way on the outside and man might say something to you that doesn't reflect what God is doing. But God says, look, it's not about what they say. It's not about what you see. It's about what I said.